You've just joined the Prepper Broadcasting Network, where we promote self-reliance and independence. The views and opinions expressed are strictly those of the host or their guests. Visit us in the interactive chat room at prepperbroadcasting.com.
Are you storing food? Prepared families are storing food for months and years, but only have enough fuel stored for days or weeks. Stretch your fuel storage by harnessing the power of the sun with the Sun Oven. Foods can be baked, boiled, or steamed at temperatures of 360 to 400 degrees with the power of the sun. You can use the sun for 50 to 80% of your cooking, allowing you to preserve your fuel storage for rainy days. Sun-baked foods stay moister and have less shrinkage and do not burn. Sun-baked roasts are tastier and more succulent, and sun-baked bread has unparalleled taste and texture. Water can be heated in the Sun Oven for purification or personal hygiene. For the past 26 years, Sun Ovens have been proudly made in the USA. They are durable, have a long life, and come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. For a discount coupon, visit sunoven.com/preppersradio. That's www.sunoven.com/preppersradio.
Good evening and welcome to Preparing for Life Storms with Bear Prepper. Today is Tuesday, October 16, 2012, and it's my pleasure to welcome you in tonight. We are on air from 8 to 9 p.m. Central Time, the first and third Tuesday of the month on American Preppers Radio, powered by PrepperBroadcasting.com. We broadcast 12 different hosts 7 days a week, so please check out the host tab for more information on shows and times. You can also listen to all previous shows into the host archive. Tomorrow night, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, the Gulf Gazette. This news service will aggregate news stories from across the political spectrum. Then at 8 p.m. Central Time, Prepping with Goat Hollow. He'll be discussing getting ready for colder weather. If SHTF happens in some horrible way between now and Christmas, would you be able to keep yourself warm until spring brings warm weather? So tonight, folks, before we get to our discussion, I believe in supporting those that support local preppers. So I have a special guest, Breaking Bread the Healthy Way. And I'm bringing in Jeremy and Rory. Good evening, Jeremy and Rory.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, this is
Great.
Rory.
Hi, Rory.
Hi, Bear.
I'd like to thank you both for coming on to the show tonight. And like I said, you guys have been absolutely wonderful in supporting my listeners and my viewers and the meetup attendees. And you've been getting phone calls from people across the country asking questions. And I just want to thank you so much for taking your time and energy to help them out. And so tonight, I would like for others that may not be here in San Antonio or that are to be able to know what kind of services you provide, how do we find you, and a little bit about what your company is.
Okay.
Well, let me start off by telling you a little bit about our company. Breaking Bread, the Healthy Way, was founded by Cran and Cindy Wilder in the early 90s as doing a co-op, the Walton Feed Co-op, with several individuals through their home. And then they got so busy they decided to open a store, and the store opened actually in 1999. And right now, currently, our store is in a rebuilding stage because Cindy passed away last year, and we're working right now to add new products to the store and build on the foundation she started with this business.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And I got to tell you, folks, it is an amazing store. The renovations that they have done and the products that they have brought in, it's just wonderful. And, you know, a lot of times you can just ask them if they have something, and if they have a way of getting it, they can get it for you. They do bulk purchases, so if you want to do your own packaging, twice a year they have this bulk purchase. So it is an amazing place to go.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so, Jeremy's turn, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd just like to talk about some of the things that we offer at our store. We basically cater to two types of customers. The first one is we cater to our basically bread bakers, if I can talk straight. We carry
you got
grain.
The radio tongue-tied.
Yeah, pretty much. We carry grains and mixers and things like that for the bread bakers. There we go. I finally got it right. We carry 15 types of whole wheat grains and mixes. Basically, the two companies that we carry for our grains are Wheat Montana and Walton Feed. We also carry local honey, molasses, agave, wheat grinders with electric and hand grinders, cooking equipment, mixers. Our two biggest mixers is the Bosch Universal, and our other one that we carry is the Verona. We also carry kitchen equipment and little gadgets, and we also carry some cookbooks. Our other type of customer that comes in is just like you, Bear, which we've known you for years, and again, we appreciate you for all that you've done for us, and this is our preppers. And we carry water filters, freeze-dried and dehydrated foods, empty buckets so you can bucket your own product. We also carry large quantities of buckets as well for, for instance, 25 pounds of beans and things like that. Water storage, Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, and we also heard your commercial for the Sun Oven, and we also carry that as well. If you would, as for the people that are out there, if you guys want to see our inside of our store, we had an open house here about a month ago, and Bear, she actually went around and took pictures of our store and everything, which was awesome, and we thank you for that. So that's basically what we kind of carry in our store.
And it was a wonderful open house. I met a lot of great people there, just the kindest, most generous people. Everyone that works there they're just so helpful, and I just love going into the store, and there's always something new. And I love to look at new things and always walk out of there spending too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the new things we didn't mention was we do have sprouting. That's one of the biggest things that people are doing because it's a live food. But we have a lot of sprouting seeds, from broccoli to radish to mixtures of different salad blends, alfalfa, just a wide variety of live sprouting seeds.
Yeah, and sprouting, that's one of those things that when you can't grow anything else, if you can at least grow sprouts, you're getting those vitamins. So everybody that's prepping should have sprouts on their shelves. And worst case scenario, you take those sprouts and you throw them in the ground and you grow yourself some radishes.
Yeah. My wife and I, we sprout. And one of the things is that she loves, and I do it too, is you just open the refrigerator and you have sprouts there, and they make a really good little snack, and they're very filling. And my wife just loves them, and so when there's not fresh sprouts around, she's always willing to say, hey, where's our sprouts? We need to get going on this. So.
And the nutty flavor, I absolutely love the radish ones because they give you that little bite.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where is your store located? And how do we find you?
Okay, our store is on 210 Jackson Keller. It's on the inside of 410. It's in between San Pedro and McCullough. We also have a website. It's basically it's acronym for Breaking Bread the Healthy Way, so it's bbthw.com. All of our information is on there as well. And you can also Google it, Breaking Bread, to find us. To make sure this information is accurate, I did try it this morning, so it is good. You can Google it. Sometimes it's kind of hard with Google. But our hours are Monday through Friday from 10 till 5, and on Saturday from 10 till 2.
Well, that is wonderful, and I have one more question for you. And
sure.
You probably know you're going to get this one from me because I've had many, many viewers ask me. Any thoughts of starting an online ordering for those that are not lucky enough to have you near them?
Well, again, we are in the rebuilding stage. It was something that we did when Miss Cindy was here, but when she passed, a lot of the information on how to do all that, she kind of took with her. And so we are working on that. Hopefully by maybe this time next year we're able to do that. We do ship out some of the smaller items, like cookbooks, maybe a few cans and that sort of thing. If you're interested in a mixer or a grinder, something like that, we can ship that out. Buckets and stuff like that, grains and stuff like that, that's really expensive. And that's something that we're trying to hopefully work on by the end of this next year, that we can solve that and get real good shipping prices for everybody. So.
Well, that is wonderful just to know that if anybody wants to get Grandma's Inflation Fighters, give them a call. They carry it in their store because that's my favorite recipe book. Well, I want to just thank you guys so much. Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners? And I'll be posting their information on both Preparing for Life Storms and on my Bear Prepper channel and Facebook for those of you that are asking in the chat room.
Well, we look forward to seeing anybody and have them, of course, call us. We're free to answer questions. We'll be happy to give you if we have the answer. If not, we can look and kind of research for you to help find your answer. But feel free to call us, email us, and we'll try to get your answers back as quickly as we can.
Thank you so much, Rory and Jeremy, for being here. And I just want to take a moment to thank your company for being so supportive to not only myself, but to preppers all over the United States, and especially my subscribers, listeners, and the Bear County Meetup attendees. Thank you so much for coming in tonight and sharing your story with us and your store.
Thank you, Bear.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
All right, you too.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, now we're on to our discussion tonight. So, as you all know, tonight I am lucky enough to have MHPGardener from YouTube back with us, and we are going to be talking about putting our gardens to bed the right way so that our production for next year is greatly increased. And I think we have Bobby there. Hey, Bobby, are you there?
Hey, Bear, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming back again, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back. This is pretty cool.
It is. I absolutely love you. My guests love you, and all our listeners that download the archive just think the world of you. You offer some great information, and I know that out of your busy schedule trying to put your own gardens to bed, that this is sometimes difficult. So I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and give the phone number out now. If you'd like to call into the show, it's 347-202-0228. Remember to press 1 to speak to Bobby. And so my first question to you, Bobby, is, So what are some of the things that we should be doing now to our gardens to gain the most for next spring's crops?
It really depends on what kind of garden you have. For me, I'm a typical row crop gardener for the most part, and I'm going to be looking at, the cover crops. I want to plant something out there to, help work the soil, to try to tie up the nitrogen, keep it from leaching out through the winter, keep the topsoil from being, washed away. If you're a small backyard gardener, raised beds, you probably don't want to deal with cover crops a whole lot, because the purpose of them is, come springtime, to mow them down and then turn them back into the soil. And unless you want to do a whole lot of physical labor with the shovel or flipping that stuff over, you probably don't want to do a lot of that in the raised beds and stuff. You can, if you want to, it will help. But for the most part, I would stick to the leaves and the compost and things like that. Stuff that's much easier to work with, things that'll just go ahead and break down, and that way you don't have to come back in and start all the physical labor in the springtime. Just put the stuff on there. And one of the questions that people ask is sometimes about using fresh manure. And this is one of the good times when you could actually put it out there, where you just put it there and leave it. You've got 4 or 5 months before you start with it in the spring, and it'll be broken down by then.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can put it on there, and it'll be fine. You don't have to worry about composting it, flipping it over, and turning it, that kind of stuff. You just want to put something on there and leave it alone. Go ahead, when you're going into the wintertime, once you get the garden situated, whatever you're going to do to it right now, my best advice would be just leave it alone, and you go back in your house, and you sit down and you start thinking about what you did this year, what went right, what went wrong. Did you have disease problems with whatever kind of plants? Look up those varieties and see if maybe there was something else that was disease resistant that you could replace them with. Now, that would be a hybrid now, so that's a different subject, but that's something that you could do. If you're in an area like this year, I had a lot of blight problems. My cucumbers had the downy mildew. The squash had the powdery mildew. I just had all kinds of trouble this year. And one of the things that I will be looking at is trying to find varieties maybe next year that can withstand some of that stuff. I know there'll be hybrids, but the thing with hybrids, and I've said this a few times before, they're not bad. The only thing is you can't save the seed from them and know what you're going to get next year. But if you go ahead and order them, and if you order enough at one time to last you for the next 4 or 5 years, and seeds will keep in dry storage fine for 4 or 5 years, you don't really have to deal with the seed saving aspect of it. Go ahead and save your open pollinated heirloom seeds, most definitely. And you don't want to plant them side by side if you're trying to save seeds from them. You don't want to mix up the hybrid and the OPs. But to me, there's nothing wrong with having a hybrid seed or vegetable in your garden. It's not like that other thing with the other 3-letter words that I'm not going to mention.
Well, one of the things that on that very line that I have recently been thinking about is I've started a journal of what I plant, what problems I'm having, what kind of harvest I'm getting from it, because I've got CRS disease because of my age. But I was thinking more on the lines of making a list of what are high producers and making sure I keep those kind of seeds set aside so that if something bad were to happen and I needed to feed 20 people, I knew which plants grew best and where in my garden that I could get this high yield. Is that something that's worth doing?
That's exactly what you should be doing. You should be taking the best thing you can do, I think, if you're new to garden, if you have a local feed store, go down to the local feed store, or sometimes it's one of the mom and pop hardware stores, and talk to them. See what seed they are carrying. They're usually going to carry seed that produces in your specific area. Just if you see me growing something in the greenhouse here in Virginia, it's not necessarily going to do so well in South Texas outside. They don't quite work that way. But you find varieties that are tailored to your specific area that's one of the things about the heirloom open pollinated stuff that's been passed down. If you find an OP or heirloom that grows well in your area, try it, see how it does, and see how you like it. You may not even like the taste of it, but try the different varieties and do your experimenting now. Go ahead and plant, 8 or 10 different tomatoes out there and see how they do. See which one you like, and try it again the next year if you have an opportunity, and make sure that is a good producer. And then, if it's a hybrid, hey, stock up on the seed from it. If it's an OP, go ahead and save you some seeds from it. But get you a list of things that without a doubt will produce year after year. I mean, that's a brilliant way to do it.
Well, I've got 2 questions from the chat room for you.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. We've got one from, I didn't write down who it was from, but it was about how do you prepare your buckets for the winter, and the other one is from Paula, and she wants to know, what about garden layering?
How do you prepare
whatever
your
buckets?
There's not a whole lot you can do with buckets other than maybe you could dump all that stuff in a pile somewhere and maybe put some compost on top of it and then cover it up, if you want to do that. But, I mean, you're talking about small containers. They're just so much easier to come springtime, dump them all out on a tarp or something and mix in your compost and whatever kind of fertilizer you want to, mix all that stuff up and then fill the buckets right back up. They're, real easy to work with.
Okay, so don't really mess with it. Just leave them alone until the end of the year and do that. What about garden layering?
Garden layering. Is that like she's talking about that lasagna method where you put down the newspaper and then you put down something else? I've never done that. I've heard of people. Actually, I know a lady who did that in her front yard with a flower bed where it was just red clay. She did that lasagna thing, and it worked out. It worked out pretty good, but it took some time for all the stuff to break down. So if you're like in a raised bed, layering is fine. You could put some manure down there, and you want to put some grass clippings if you wanted to. You could come back with some leaves on top of that and just, water it down and make sure it's, the wind's not going to blow it away, and it ought to be fine.
Okay. I have a question for you. What about cow poo?
Cow poo?
Yeah. Can you use that for manure for your gardens?
It's fine. Cow manure is fine. Yeah, cow manure. The one thing they say about cow manure, a lot of times it has, extra grass seed in it or something like that. But to me, the benefits of having the manure or using manure outweigh the downside of the weeds and things like that.
I cover mine completely with hay, so, I don't have weeds anyways.
That's what they make hoes and plows for.
A little back work there. A little back.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, folks, if you want to call into the show, the number is 347-202. Last minute. And Bobby's only here for a little while tonight. So call on in. All right. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
Phone keeps switching from earpiece to phone, so sometimes I wonder if I can be heard. Next question. Okay, let's see. Cover crops. If we do cover crops, what kind of cover crops should we be thinking about, or do we? How do we determine which kind are best for our area?
Again, that's one of them things you can find out locally, depending on which part of the country you are, how short your growing seasons are, or how long they are. Around here in my area, most of the people plant rye. I plant wheat. It's comparable. It'll do fine for me, and it'll save me a little bit of money. It's a little bit cheaper. But a good source of information for anybody who has any questions is go online and look at the local university. Like up here, Virginia Tech, they have a good ag section on their whatever online. that you can get a lot of information from. I know, like LSU, I have seen theirs, Texas A&M, very good agricultural stuff online, all kinds of information, and they will be a lot of times tailored to what's going on in your specific area. That's where the university is at. So if you're in Texas, look up Texas A&M. If you're up in Ohio, look up Ohio State. They have a good agriculture department, and you can get your information there, because a lot of this stuff is regional specific. Like I said earlier, what does good here may not do good over there. So it's better to check with the local folks and find out what the deal is, and then go from there. And then if you want to experiment or something like that, you can, later on.
Right. We have a question from J. Kiefer034. Can you offer any advice about choosing hydroponic indoor lighting?
Hydroponic indoor lighting. I wish some of the hydroponic guys were in the chat room. I don't see any of them right now. I've never had to mess with any. I don't have anywhere inside that I could actually set one up. From what I have seen, the guys that I know do it, they use it's a T5 is what they use. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but that's the size lighting that they use. If somebody that's real small, like me, I guess, for like seed starting, I just use the cheap fluorescent shop lights. But if you're looking to actually grow, I think I would look at some of the hydroponic stores and, find some blogs or somewhere online, the people who are used to growing inside. Maybe check with them people that grow those funny plants inside, if you know what I mean. They are experts at growing inside. They'll be real up to date on those. They'll be up to date on that lighting issue.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I got another question for you here, and then we'll go into some business for the radio show. Is there something we should be doing each month while we're sitting out the season? Now, someone like me, I'm doing a fall season because in Texas that seems to be our best season of the year. So, but other people are already done, and, they've got snow or whatever. So is there something we should be thinking about each month to try to accomplish and get ready for the next year?
I don't know that it's something that you do each month, but it should be something that you do, during the winter. Somewhere along the way, back to the thing of going back over this year's lessons learned and try to figure out what you did wrong. And if you had issues with blight, maybe go to your university website and read up what they said about it. Read what you can do. Find out that you're not supposed to leave all your tomato vines laid on top of the ground and, let them overwinter. You're supposed to get rid of them. For me, I don't even want them in the compost pile. I've seen people talk about, go ahead, yeah, you put them in your compost pile. Yeah, they'll compost. Yeah, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. All that stuff is going to compost eventually, but why take a chance on putting something that might have disease or funguses or something like that in your compost pile? Just get rid of that stuff. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal trying to save the world or something if you end up with some tomato vines in the landfill. I don't think that's going to hurt them none. Better in the landfill than messing up your garden.
So they will mess up your garden, huh?
If you have disease issues and you let those, same thing with potatoes, anything else with a fungal or bacterial stuff, if you leave it just laying there, it's going to be sitting there waiting on you come next year. If you can take it, discard the plants and then turn the ground over and bury that stuff, that's generally the way you handle it. But the rest of it is just read, try to understand what went on this year, and think about, for me, I watch a lot of videos, or I used to. I can't watch as many as I used to now, but I used to always watch videos to try to see what other people did and try to figure out if they were successful, what did they do? What could I look at their methods and get something from it? And gardening is one of those things that just because John does it one way and he's successful, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to duplicate what he did. He's probably got totally different growing conditions. So you take some of his and watch one from over here and just try to put the pieces together, make a puzzle out of it. And the more you learn, the more you're prepared for whatever comes up. Just keep learning. Read, watch videos, and never stop learning. You're much better off, in my opinion, to be sitting here at night watching some YouTube videos, reading some blogs, doing some online searches than you are sitting there watching Dancing with the Stars or whatever, the next American Idol or whatever it is.
Who has time for that when you've got gardening and prepping and everything else going on for you? Okay, folks, let's go ahead and we're going to take a break here and take care of some business. So let me find my spot again. Okay, don't forget, Tuesday at 8 p.m. will be the Crooked Path to Preparedness. Always some great information and a guest to be had. And so now we're here, a couple of advertisements from our sponsors.
This program brought to you in part by Sunrunner. Portable, powerful, clean, silent, rugged, off-grid backup power. A Sunrunner patented renewable energy generator will get you through. Learn more at www.sunrnr.com and find your prepper dealer.
Tonight's broadcast brought to you in part by Joe and Amy Alton, the authors of the #1 Amazon bestseller, The Doom and Bloom Survival Medicine Handbook. See their articles in Backwoods Homes, Survivalist, Self-Reliance Illustrated, and Survival Quarterly magazines. Visit Joe and Amy's website at www.doomandbloom.net.
Okay, so I invite you all to call into the show. We're down to the last half hour, and the phone number is 347-202-0228. Hey, Bobby, did you like that break?
What break?
Okay.
That was quick.
We do. Yeah, it is quick, but, a whole minute, and some people don't like it. All right, looks like we've got a caller in the queue. We've got Wicker. Hey, Wicker, are you there?
I sure am, Bear.
How are you this evening?
I'm excellent. Doing great, and I'm glad this is the first time I've called. Very glad to meet you and Bobby. And
awesome,
I've watched your channels on YouTube, of course, and glad to have a few moments to ask you guys a few questions.
Well, go for it.
Okay. Well, the wife and I have been organically gardening for probably 15 years, and we used to garden probably 2,000, 2,200 square feet, pretty good-sized garden, and we now live on a half an acre. Our garden is growing. We're slowly rebuilding new plots on new ground, and we do most of what Bobby's suggesting. We when we start new beds, of course, we layer them about a foot deep with cow, horse manure, leaves, grass, kill the weeds and improve the soil as we start. And any extra lawn clippings, garden waste, kitchen waste, all of that goes into a compost pile to supplement the fall collection that helps kill the weeds and build up the soil for the next year. So, and that included in that is some horse and cow manure, which we get from a local 4-H grounds. So my question is, and I should add, we didn't do this year any kind of cover crop, but we're on to cover crops and have seeds ordered, and we'll be doing a cover crop next year. So my question would be, what are we missing? What can we do that would be additional beyond what we're doing now that would, provide, better nutrition and growth for the following year?
Well,
not necessarily at this moment in time, but what can we do as we go that would be another adjunct we can put into our compost or onto our garden, or what step are we missing that would just, give us better results?
It sounds like you got a pretty good handle on it with the compost, the leaves, and everything mixed in. The one thing, you didn't mention is lime. Do you ever put lime on it? Have you done a soil test to ever, determine exactly what the pH was out there to see if, lime might be helpful?
No, I haven't, and I know I've worked in ag for about the last 15 years, and I know that, in fact, I worked on spreaders quite a bit, so I know that lime is a common, and I'm in Iowa, so lime is a common, addition to growing ground. And I've never done a soil test. My experience has told me that the better soil you have, and when you're growing organic, the less and less pH matters. Right. But I do understand it still matters to some degree,
Okay.
But I haven't done that, and that's probably something we should do.
Okay. What kind of fertilizer do you use? Just the composted stuff? That's it?
Mainly compost. We kind of side dress with an organic fertilizer called Coop Poop, which is mainly composted and pelletized chicken manure, and it's OMRI certified. But we don't mainly fertilize with it. We just kind of side, when you start to set fruit, that sort of thing, we'll throw a couple tablespoons down or whatever, And I'm talking in the past when we had well-established beds. We're using a little more right now that we have broken new ground within like 2 or 3 years. But that's been our habit in the past.
What kind of results have you been getting?
Really, really good results. When we're growing, for example, heirloom tomatoes that have large growth potential, such as Brandywine, sometimes we're getting 7-foot tall tomatoes. If you grab the vines that are hanging down off the cages, you can pull up a tomato vine and you get 7.5 feet, and really good results. And I don't know if we're just in a really good place or if there's more to get, because there's nobody around us that does the things that you guys are talking about and does the kind of things that we do.
Right. Well, to me, it sounds like you know exactly what you're doing. I mean, if you're building the soil and you're getting good results, I wouldn't be looking at changing a whole lot. The only other thing, maybe, do you ever use compost tea? I'm not one of these guys that's 100% sold on it, but I mean, as far as adding it once a week or something like that, I know that does help.
Well, we have used some compost tea, but it's something that might happen 1 to 3 times a year. I guess we're not sold on it either, Bobby, and we haven't neglected that, but we've tried it definitely. I know when you're talking organic, there's no Miracle Grow magic bullet that shows you something overnight.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something that you could actually add to what you're doing, but if you're building the soil and you're supplying the plants with a decent fertilizer and you're getting very good results, when are you going to start making videos?
I don't know.
Hey, guys, Bobby, if you think of something else, we can answer it later on in the show. We got a couple of people in queue. And so, Wicker, thank you so much for calling in. Sorry to shoo you off.
No problem. I appreciate you two very much, and I appreciate you taking the time to think over my questions.
Well, wonderful, and thank you. Okay,
all right,
Bobby.
You guys have a good evening.
You too. Looks like we've got Sugar Bear in queue, and we got about 4 questions that we need to answer after that. So, Sugar Bear, are you there? Sue Bear.
Oh, Sue Bear. Yeah, it's me.
I'm calling you Sugar, hon.
Oh, that's okay. That's just good old something I do. I have a question for you both. I have moved from the Southwest, where right now it's springtime, to the Northeast, and I have a half acre, and I'm looking at wanting to start up my garden, and I have no idea how to grow too much in the Northeast. It's a little bit different. We're getting ready for the winter now. When would be a good time to really start putting out, like, the raised beds out, in the Northeast? Do I want to put it out now with the compost and get it covered, or should I wait until the spring? Is my question.
I would go ahead and build them and put the beds out there. Go ahead and fill them up, about halfway with whatever you're going to mix, and let that stuff sit there. Have you decided what you're going to fill them up with yet?
I have no idea. No.
No. Okay. How big are they? How tall are they? What size are they?
I haven't even started them yet. I'm just starting. I'm getting wood. I'm trying to get free wood, of course, and which I'm pretty lucky now right now. But I have quite a few of the larger 4x16s and such, and then I'm just looking at I'm mapping out my where I'm wanting to put them.
I would go ahead and build the beds and fill them up. Well, a half to 2/3 or something like that with what you're going to put in them, and mix it up real good, and let that stuff sit there through the wintertime. Go ahead and let the soil start to do its thing. Start to whatever you have mixed in it. Let that break down a little bit, and then come back March, April, whatever, and whenever you decide to start planting, and then you can maybe add some more compost onto it and go ahead and start planting.
Should I cover it with straw? That's my other question. Should I cover it with straw for the winter, or
if you wanted to, straw wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt at all.
Yeah, I have a bunch of that. We got the straw bales for the fall, and for decorations, and I was just going to break it up and put it on top. That'd be good.
Yeah, it would be fine. Especially if you have cats like we do. Lord have mercy, don't leave fresh soil sitting there. That's like you put a
That's what I was thinking. I have 5 cats around. Okay, well, great. Thank you both, and I'm really enjoying your videos. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for calling in, hon. Okay, let's see if we can slide out some of these questions real quick. Are you ready for them, Bobby?
Go for it.
Okay, Genius in Exile wants to know, can you burn diseased plants and use them like biochar? I have no idea what biochar is. Do you?
Why would you even try? If it's a diseased plant, get that sucker off your property. Get it away and be done with it. When in doubt, get it out.
Okay. And then now we have Zeta 3. What soil mixture is good for potatoes?
Soil mixture for potatoes. You mean as far as growing in a container?
I would presume so, container or raised bed.
Okay, soil mix. You want something that's not real heavy, like you don't want a bunch of red clay. You need something that's going to be somewhat pliable, loose, in a way that, your potatoes are growing underground now. If the soil is very compact, they're going to have a hard time growing. So you need something that's kind of loose, especially if you're container garden and stuff like that. Much easier if you got a bunch of perlite mixed in it, wood chips and stuff to keep the soil loose. Those things are real easy to work with. And as far as fertilizer goes, something high in potash, since it's a root crop, will be much more beneficial.
Okay. And is there a certain pH that you need for potatoes?
It's hard to, when you're talking about growing something in the ground, Bear, it's hard to get an exact pH. Most of the plants in your garden, they're going to prefer something slightly acidic, somewhere in the 6.5, 6.5 range. Definitely not over 7. If you're over 7, that's not good. But usually anything under 7, most vegetables in your garden will be fine.
Okay. And let's see. Green Eyes wants to know, do you use azomite, azomite, for your garden soil?
Azomite. I used it.
Azomite.
I have used it some outside. I didn't notice that big of a difference outside. I noticed inside in the greenhouse, in those beds where I had planted the bell peppers that just went crazy, one thing I have not been able to determine is why the white flies that I had, they were totally infesting the tomatoes. They refused to bother the bell peppers. And last year, the bell peppers that I had, I couldn't keep the white flies off of them. But this year, raised beds, azomite, the wood ash, the leaves, something in that combination just basically told the white flies, you don't need to mess with us. And was it the azomite? I don't know. It could have been. It could have been any number of things, just a combination of stuff. But it's not cheap. The azomite is not. If you could find a local store that had it where you didn't have to pay for the shipping, that would help. But I wouldn't throw it out if somebody was going to give it to you. That's for sure.
Okay. And before we get into another question, I want to first see if there is something special that you wanted to announce to the listeners tonight.
Oh,
I'm going to put you on the spot, Bobby.
I forgot all about that. I was actually getting comfortable here this time. I thought I was going to let you do the announcement. That was the agreement, wasn't it?
Oh, you want me to announce? Okay. You guys all ready in that chat room? And those of you listening online, Bobby is going to have a radio show here on Prepper Broadcasting. So, Bobby, why don't you tell them when it is and when your first show is?
It's going to be Friday nights. So far, what I'm planning is the first and third Friday of the month, similar to what you have done here with the first and third Tuesday. I haven't set, or we haven't, made an agreement yet on the actual first date, but I want to try for the first one in November 3rd, and start it off on the first, the first Friday of the month, and go that route. I had to check with
you're not going to try. Your first show is November 3rd, okay? Everybody, you got to be there. Let's show Bobby how much we love him. I'm so excited for that. You give us such great information, and to be able to go to you on a biweekly and maybe in the future weekly would be awesome. I'm so excited about it. So, would you have any idea what your first show is going to be about?
The very first show, I think I want to talk about seeds. To me, it's that chicken or the egg deal with your gardening. Which comes first, the soil or the seed, the chicken or the egg? And I'm gonna say the seed, and that's the thing that people need to learn first. A lot of people right now, I know I get these PMs, I'm sure you do too all the time. Where's a good place to buy non-GMO seeds at? And I'm going to go ahead and tell you this right now. Just about everything that you plant in your garden right now, there is not a GMO equivalent on the market. There hasn't even been created yet. So for most people, other than, corn, canola, soybeans, that's where the GMO stuff is at. It's not going to be in your regular mom-and-pop backyard gardening deal. And a lot of people don't realize that. So I'm going to start from the beginning with the open-pollinated, the heirloom, the hybrids, and work on through to the explain that GMO stuff that I said I wasn't going to mention earlier. And I want to ask just one question. I asked G-Man this question recently, and this will be just fun right here. Most of y'all know a hybrid seed is a cross between two varieties of the same species. When you cross two tomatoes, not going in the lab and altering DNA or nothing like that, when you just cross two varieties of the same species, you get a hybrid. The first time you do it, you get an F1 hybrid. Can anybody tell me the most famous hybrid in the United States right now? Anybody? And this is something that most people don't think about. Anybody? The most famous hybrid in the United States right now. Anybody?
I don't remember it. I'm looking in the chat room and I don't see anybody answering. It's a tomato.
He's on TV tonight. think about what I said. A hybrid is a cross between two varieties of the same species. Where did the fill at 4400 Pennsylvania Avenue come from? A African father, and a Caucasian mother. Cross them, you get a hybrid. Now, I was going to use the example, if you cross a Cocker Spaniel and a Poodle, would you feel like there was anything wrong with that puppy? Most people would say, absolutely not. Hybrids are fine. So if I had said the same thing about the other fella, and I said, did you see anything wrong with that? The answers might have been a little bit differently. So that's why I didn't go that route. But anyway, but it's true. That is the definition of a hybrid.
Well, that is true. And, and hybrids, you may get the same plant next year. You just don't know for sure. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with planting hybrids if that's what grows best for you. It's always good to keep some heirlooms in the background so that, if you can't get seeds for 6 years and you only plan for 5, that you have a way to get those plants growing again.
That's exactly right. And the only thing you have to do, if you're going to plant both of them, is don't plant them in a situation where they can get crossed up. You just, if you wanted to grow a hybrid and an OP cucumber the same year, and you had maybe a very small garden, you could plant one first, and about the time it was getting ready to give up, then you plant the other one, so they wouldn't be sitting there growing at the same time. A lot of ways that you can work with hybrids and have them mixed into your garden and not be a problem. I wouldn't think about growing a garden without hybrids.
And I think I grew a couple this last year myself. But folks, we are down to 9 minutes, probably less than 5 minutes that we're going to have Bobby to talk to. So if you want to call in, now is your last chance. The phone number is 347-202-0228. Okay, Bobby, I've got another question for you now.
Okay.
When do we begin our starts for spring?
Most plants, like 4 to 6 weeks before the first frost day. Just,
so they need to order their seeds before then, right?
Oh, certainly. I mean, you could go ahead and order the seeds right now. I would. I mean, matter of fact, I've got most of my seeds for next year, and the year after, and the year after. I've already got them. So if suddenly we don't have any more gas, for the trucks to ship the stuff to me, I've got my seed in hand. And it was the Green Eyes was asking, how are you storing those seeds? There's a lot of different ways you can store seeds. And one of the simplest things you can do is just put them in a coin envelope or a regular letter envelope somewhere at night, and put them somewhere cool and dry. You could put them, if you don't want to put them up in your cabinet, put them in the bottom of your dresser or somewhere. Keep them in the dark and just leave them alone. Make sure you don't have no rats coming in and getting them, though. That would be a problem.
I have another question for you. I've got those seed banks, the cans. And something in my mind tells me those seeds, I bought those ones that were 30 years old or 20 years old, something like that. And, of course, not a single one germinated, which I didn't expect them to. But I have a can that's 5 years old. I am planting them this spring to see, matter of fact, this fall, I just put a bunch in to test and see if they were going to grow. But in my mind, seeds in a closed can, don't seeds need to breathe some way?
As long as there's no moisture in there. The thing is to keep them dry. And so they wouldn't really need to breathe. If they were in a situation where they could breathe, they may be, drawing in humidity. And that's going to cut down the amount of time that they're actually going to be able to be stored and they'll be viable. So the thing is to keep them dry, keep them cool. If you want to, seal them up in something. I do this sometimes too with the bigger things like corn and the peas. Put them in the bottom of the refrigerator. Or you can put, if you want to. Some people put them in the freezer. I have put stuff in the freezer. Purple hull peas. Grab them out of the freezer, broke them up, and just, threw them in the garden. And they did fine. They come right up.
Well, Bobby, I want to tell you we're completely out of time, and I want to thank you so much for coming in tonight. A lot of great information and a wonderful announcement that you made, and we're so excited for you, and we know it's just going to be a great show. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
All right. Thanks for having me back. Have a good evening.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay,
Bye.
folks, just a reminder for those of you in Bear County area, the quarterly meetup is this Saturday from 10 to 2 p.m. at McAllister Park, Pavilion 1. We're going to have some demonstrations and other info to share. We're also going to be getting a special box from Bobby there. Thank you very much, Bobby, for that. Hope you join us and connect with other preppers. We're also going to try for our first live YouTube broadcast on some of these demos for those of you that are unable to attend due to distance or previous engagements. My next show is Election Day, so tonight I will end with a quote by Benjamin Franklin. When the people find they can vote themselves money, that will herald the end of the republic. So no matter what your political beliefs are, remember, you have no right to complain about what we end up with if you fail to offer your choice on November 6th. I will see you a week from this Tuesday, November 6th at 8 p.m. Central Time, when we will have Full Spectrum Survival as our guest. The discussion will cover our preparedness to survive any situation, learn how to get to the point in our comfort level in preparedness. So come join us as we learn how to evaluate our environment and prepare our own scenarios to greatly improve our survivability in case things get bad. If you haven't taken a look at their videos, you're missing some great instruction on how to survive. So what is your greatest fear? And what would you do to prepare now for that fear? You can find more from me on YouTube and on Facebook, also here on the first and third Tuesday of each month. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me. Good night and blessings.